I'm Chetan. With me is Chris. Say hi, Chris.
Hi, Chris.
And we have a special guest with us today. Introduce yourself, please.
Hey, I'm Robb Mirsky. I'm a cartoonist based in Toronto, Canada, and I'm here to talk about dorky stuff like art.
And why is it that last time we had your wife on and it was minus 30 degrees, and today it's minus 30 again?
I haven't gone outside yet, but I would assume it is. I don't
Oh,
want to
it's
go
cold.
there.
It's cold.
It's the life
It's
of
Yeah,
an
cold.
artist. You have no idea what it's like. I was working on a comic book once, and then suddenly I got a phone call, and they're like, "There's a vicious, almost hurricane storm." I'm like, "Really?"
yeah. Like, there's a killer on the loose. I wouldn't know. I don't go outside. Like, it's fine.
Yeah,
Like,
no
you know,
idea.
that's why COVID was so good because it was like it forced you to get rid of the social life and all that extra chicken fat, and you just focus on the thing you knew how to do, which was draw. The
Yes.
biggest
Exactly.
obstacle in making comics and stuff was always like, I got to actually put down the time to do this. But then when everything is ripped from under you and you have nothing else, it's perfect. So,
So what you're
fine.
saying is that cartoonists endorse pandemics.
I had a great pandemic myself. I don't know about anyone else, but I
Oh,
thrived
same here.
fully.
Same here.
I'd never drawn
We
so many comics and done so much stuff. It was great.
Yep.
we drew a lot, and my kids and I drew a lot and watched a lot of movies. Let's just say
Oh
that.
yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Tons. Yeah. It has its ups and downs, but I think it was okay for the most part, at least for cartoonists. I can't vouch for any other part of humanity.
Fair
So
I'm not
tell
enough.
us
fun.
about so now about you. Tell us about your background. How did you get into art?
I've just been gravitating towards art since I was a little kid. My parents always saw that in me and had me in like art lessons when I was like really, really young. So on weekends I would hang out at like artist studios of these like real art. I don't even know who they are anymore, but they were like proper studios. And you're just like little kids exploring these places and being, I don't know, just inspired. And then just an obsession with cartoons forever and been reading comics for most of my life. So it all kind of just made sense to draw. So yeah, just did it forever. I don't have a lot of other skills, but
Well,
it's yeah, it's always just been there. So
we know you do like t-shirt designs and comic books, but was there a moment that sort of got you into comic books and or I know I've seen your t-shirt design stuff, and a lot of it is sort of comic book looking
yeah,
anyway. But
Yes.
yeah.
was there something that sort of steered you in that as opposed to maybe going to like fine art or animation, or maybe you've done animation, but like was there something that steered you towards comic books?
I think comic books, like the newspaper comics when I was a kid, were like super important. It was like the heyday of like Calvin and Hobbes and stuff like that. So just being like having accessible stuff on the regular and like
Mhm.
these things that like I don't know, when I look at those comics, I'm like, oh, I could draw stuff like that. As opposed to like looking at a fine art piece and I'm like, what? That's not a photograph? Like, how is this? I don't wrap my head around. But it's the same way with like getting into punk rock later was like, oh, okay, this is where I can see my entry point into this thing and like how I can contribute too. It's not just like listening to like those crazy rock stars and you're like, wow, this is insane and crazy and great, but like I can't do that. It was like
Mhm.
I think comics was the point where I was like, I can do that. And I was looking at them since I was like a little kid. Like it wasn't like the Marvel, the superhero stuff really. It was like newspapers and some offbeat, like funny animal comics, and just like I think I just like being able to tell stories in pictures, just like drawing similar things over and over and over again. And it sounds like probably torture to many people, but you sort of get into a zen about it. It
Well,
feels good,
I
but
started as an animator, so drawing over and over again is like my
so
one of
yeah, I wanted to be an animator when I was a kid, and that was like my thing. I was like going to go to Sheridan. Disney was going to come scoop me up and take me to Hollywood. And I was going to live this great life, right? And then I got out of high school, and literally that year, classical animation turned to digital animation, and I was like, oh, this doesn't look fun at all. Like, I don't like any of this. And I didn't really like the results of the things I was seeing too. Like, animation was always
Yes.
super captivating. So then I was like, oh, well, maybe I'll just go back to comics because it's basically like drawing keyframes of animation. And I can still do what I want to do without having to have like 45 people working with me. So it's a way to keep it to myself, I guess. I'm very selfish that way.
Well, that's interesting because what you mentioned about animation, animation did go through a phase where everything, when the digital age came, it just was so boring.
Yeah. Well, and
Yeah,
that's
but
why I was like, I don't want to do this.
that's pretty common with art in general when it goes that
It
way,
is,
because
it is.
what happens is it starts off being created by people who know the technical side of it, and then eventually they build a tool that allows you to then be your creative self with it. Like if you look at like the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, the Mutant Mayhem movie, I mean, it's beautiful. Like
Hmm.
there's nothing wrong with that. And I think that the tools at this point with sort of 3D animation can now let you get that cool look that you
Yeah.
couldn't do before. Like you were saying, like I agree, like the early stuff, I was into some of the digital animation, but I definitely looked at a lot of it like, oh, technically that's beautiful. But then I
Yeah.
kind of look at it and be like, but really, was it amazing? Like, is it, I totally
But
see
that's,
your
but
point.
on the, to defend that, it's the same thing with comics where, look at the early ages of digital coloring.
Yeah.
Oh, it was
It's true. Like
terrible.
you
I
got to
mean,
start somewhere, right?
you do,
Yeah.
you do.
But when
And you have to have
I guess
people.
when I was like walking into that point and I'm like, oh, this is where we're at now. I was like, I
Yeah.
don't want to be a part of this. This looks bad. So
Yeah. The
goodbye.
one nice thing about comic books, though, is even when like Image was doing its super crazy digital coloring, there was still people doing indie stuff, even people in this conversation who were doing
Yes.
Yeah.
indie stuff. So you could kind of be like, so like, oh, well, if I don't want to do that crazy color stuff, I have the option. I would even look at like Sam Heath, even he was at
Oh,
Image, but his
the
stuff,
Max was the best
beautiful.
one.
Yeah, it's like so to that degree, it's interesting how like with comic books, there was always this sort of like window into, well, you don't have to do it digitally if you don't want to,
Yeah.
which was kind of nice. So I assume when you were sort of coming up, there was, even if there was digital coloring, you knew that there also was not digital coloring if you wanted to.
Totally. And most of my comics, at least in the early days, were all black and white. I was very much into the 80s, 90s black and white boom, and that sort of look. And I would just try to emulate that. And also like I'm kind of colorblind and like, are you kidding?
We had
Like
this
coloring a comic? Well, you might as well shoot me in the head. Yeah.
we had this the previous talk. Watch our episode with
I,
Rebecca, and we had to talk about you being colorblind and all of us agreeing that all of us are colorblind.
yeah.
Yeah,
And you know what? Even if I wasn't colorblind, trying to color a comic without like a very limited palette will take forever. It's like
yeah,
it takes me twice as
That's
long to color anything than it does to ink, pencil, lay it out, think it up. Like all those things take less
that's
time than just
perfect. You
coloring.
mentioned that because we were talking about this a while back. Where yeah, I spend more time coloring than drawing.
Yeah, and I don't want to do that. Like
No,
sometimes I get into
no,
it and it's fun and it looks good when it's coming up and you're like, oh wow, this is really coming together. But I've got like five other things I want to draw in the back of my head that I can't get out because I'm too busy spending a week on this coloring this job, you know? It's like
yeah,
so I'd rather spend my time doing other things like doodling. But
and another
exactly.
thing with coloring is, and you and I and Chris are examples of it. We're independent artists, independent creators doing this. Color comic is almost three times the price of a black and white book. So that's a
yeah,
huge factor also on why you shouldn't color your book.
totally. And then the consumer, they don't care if it's black and white or color. They want to pay the same price, right? Like, and to be fair,
That's
like I
it.
don't
Yeah.
blame them too. But the how much more work goes into it, how much more the production costs are, like all of it. It's like, yeah, why would I do that?
Yeah, yeah.
Sign myself up for failure.
So speaking of like black and white and all that, so what kind of tools are you using are you a paper person, or are you digital? Are you both? What do you consider yourself?
So, I mean, I started very much in paper, and I still draw on paper, like sketchbooks and all kinds of stuff. But when I'm doing my actual, like making comics or designing for t-shirts and stuff, I do it all on my iPad, because it has taken away so many steps and made things quicker and easier, especially with comics. You want to minimize how many extra steps there are. Like everything
Yes.
takes forever, and it's all basically like you do it because you love it. It's free work, you know. And I love it, but I also am going to minimize it so I don't start to hate it or hate myself for doing it. So I
Yeah.
do everything on Procreate on my iPad, and I've made my own tools like because you can customize like the pens and stuff you use. So I've like kind of made an inker that that looks that emulates like real tools and stuff like that. Like that was my whole goal was if I'm going to start doing this, I have to make it look organic. I do not want to look like I'm drawing digitally. I don't want it to look like there's a look. If you look at like web comics and stuff, there's a look to that. There's a look to digital art and like it's never been my thing. So I do Procreate, but I keep it as basic and minimal as possible. I try to treat it like I am working on paper and using the same kinds of layers and stuff like that. Color is the real thing where it really helps because I'll color on all different layers. And then if I show it to Rebecca and I'm like, what do you think? And she's like, why did you color that purple? I'm like, oh shit. So then I can just change that one color and then it's like, okay, good. I don't have to redo all this.
So you
But
Yeah.
haven't learned this lesson yet? Never asked what your wife what if
well,
it's
if
good
I
or not?
don't, and it goes to, well, I have to ask her at the end because if it's like just for edits, because if it goes to
Because you,
print and it's all
but
those
you should
colors
know
are
by
off,
now.
oh
You
man.
should know by now. She's never gonna agree with what you like.
This is also true. And I find with most people, I'm like, you know what? Maybe I just do this myself and I'll just show people when it's done. And then it's usually fine, you know. And if I tell people my ideas, I have enough time to talk about the idea to talk myself out of it. Or like, you know, like I can articulate it much better with my art than I can with my words anyways. So
Yeah.
So you
For
mentioned
sure.
iPad, the tablet beside you. Is that
yeah.
your iPad I thought it
Yeah.
was a Wacom. I thought it was a Wacom tablet, honestly.
No, it's got a this thing is called a Sketchboard Pro and it
Mm.
fits into your iPad. It's like an easel basically.
Oh, never
And
seen
it
those.
yeah, it makes it so you've got like a drawing table. You're not just drawing on this tiny thing. You
Yeah,
have like your arms can spread out. I've got it's on my drawing table, which is propped up, so it's got like a nice angle to it.
I thought it was a Wacom tablet because where it was angled and everything, and you
Yeah.
can't tell it's an iPad.
Yeah. No, I love this. This has been my go-to for, I mean, since I think I bought it right before the pandemic started. And yeah, it's just this thing is it's a juggernaut. It works very well.
Now, do you have an iPad Pro or a regular
Yeah,
iPad? Okay,
iPad Pro. Yeah. But it's from like
and
2017 or 2018, so it's like ancient history at this point. But it works whenever it works.
yes, that's it. Yep. Chris and I had that talk a while back. My drawing tablet is the new one I got is new, but the old one was almost 15 years old now.
Yeah. I
So,
mean, you
and
know,
it
they talk about
works.
technology like being obsolete as soon as you start using it, but I don't know. I can't afford to update constantly, and I don't like
No.
technology. I like this because I know how it works. I don't need new stuff. As soon as they like update it, I'm like, oh, I can't find anything. I don't know how to use this thing anymore. Like, I just
No,
let
creators
me.
don't
I
like change.
no,
That's the
and that's
thing.
why I try to treat it like paper. Like, I just want it. I wish I was working on paper. It's just like so much easier to get this like out there. Like takes away so many steps and so much extra stuff. I don't have room for a scanner or anything in my house anymore. Like, you know, so I
Scanning is a
gotta keep
big
it.
deal. Like
Yeah,
scanning is
totally.
a big deal. It's like I don't know a single artist who's like, yeah, my favorite part of making a comic is scanning it.
God, scanning and touch up. I do not miss any of that stuff. Like I just do it all as I go. And I'm like, huh, this is done now. Things that
When
used
I
to
was
take a
doing that,
week take like a day, you know?
when I used to do paper scanning, I had a flatbed scanner that was a really good one. Then with all the updates of OS and Photoshop, they became obsolete because they stopped making drivers for it.
Yeah.
So I ended up buying this massive big Epson one that weighs like 20 pounds.
Yeah.
And it prints like 12 by 18 sheets and stuff, but it takes a full desk space.
Yeah.
And
That's the
I don't
problem.
miss it. Honestly, since I unplugged it and put it away, I don't miss it.
Yeah.
So I do
Hear
all
you.
my stuff on paper. I still work on paper, so all my pages are paper. And to make it even worse, I don't scan my stuff, I photograph my pages.
Oh, wow. So you must have like a proper setup or rig or something for
Well, I'm
that,
a
no?
photographer as well. So
Okay.
I have like I have gear and the lenses and everything. But I mean the reason I do it for a reason because I want my stuff to look like it's on paper.
Yeah.
Like the idea is that I want to, I learned from an animator. There's a friend, basically a mentor of mine, who did this like really simple character. He talked about making it look possible for your readers. as you even said when you were sort of when you were getting into cartooning, the idea of like, well, I can do that. So I kind
Yeah,
of want my comic to look like it's on paper so people know that I did it on paper. So I even, one of the reasons I photograph is to get the texture of the
nice. Yeah.
paper in there. I don't want it to be slick. I want it to look like it's on paper. And I use a bit of a pencil for toning. So that way
Okay.
it actually, again, you can see the texture of the paper. And so it actually, people know this was done on paper and then, brought through. But the unfortunate thing is I have to photograph it. And the hardest part about it is the lighting. I have to photograph all my pages on the same day at the same time
Oh
because even if there's
yes.
light streaming from
Right.
any window,
Yeah.
it
Oh
has to
my
be
God.
it has to be the same. It has to be consistent. So unless I went to a completely dark room and lit the entire thing, which I don't have the ability to do, I have to like basically shoot all my pages. And if one of them doesn't work out, like it's a bit blurry, I got to reshoot everything
Oh
because the
my
lighting
God.
will be different.
That is commitment.
Yeah,
And
That's
this is
but the
and
results,
Rob,
right? You're going for the
yeah,
results.
I
Rob will
think my
back me
maybe
up
my
on
next
this.
issue. I'm thinking digital.
Yeah.
Rob will back me up on this. As soon as you have kids, your space from one room goes to a smaller as they get older. So,
You see where I'm sitting. It is the corner of my basement room that I had to move
yep,
down to because my kid just took over the extra
that
bedroom that used to be
that's
my
yep.
beautiful studio space. And now everything's tucked into a corner. My books that all used to be in my one room are now spread across the whole house. I don't know
Yep.
where anything is at any time.
And that's where that
And I
tablet
like
comes
my
in
little nook.
handy. Yep, that's where a tablet you could go in a corner and
Well,
do your
exactly.
thing.
It's part of it, right? Like I can sit on the couch and I can draw as opposed to like being like, okay, I have to set everything up. It's got to be perfect. Everything's here. And then, I can just like pop it out and walk around with it or
Don't
whatever.
worry, don't worry. Once they graduate high school and they're off, you'll have your room back.
Yeah. Yeah. One day. One day.
That's what I keep telling my wife. So,
Yeah, I know. I keep telling myself that. Yeah. We'll see.
Yeah, I don't
so
have
you
kids. So I have
yeah,
like
that's
I have a drawing table, my dining room table, half of it is my drawing
See,
space.
that sounds
And then
amazing.
I do all my computer stuff in the computer room. And
See, my kitchen table is all Lego. Not mine, but it is what it
and
is.
not even that, Chris. Rob will back me up on this again. If we had our, like your art and all that on the table and stuff like that, my biggest fear is they're gonna put some plate on it or a cup on it and walk away.
Yeah. Oh yeah, yeah. It's yeah. It's better just to keep it all in my small space and say, stay away.
Yeah. So you mentioned you're using Procreate.
Mhm.
So ups and downs of Procreate, good program to use.
Um, Honestly, for a digital program, it's pretty fantastic. They should probably give me a sponsorship because I talk so highly about them so often, but it's like one time reasonable payment. Um, it's an app, it's not a program, so like it doesn't have the same power
Yes.
that Photoshop does, but it's really easy to use. It's really easy to find answers to questions you have about it. And it has so much variety. Like I use it for super basic stuff. I pencil, I ink, I color, and like that's pretty much it. But the things I've seen people do with it and like the capabilities are crazy. But again,
Yes.
it's affordable and accessible. I think I don't know what it is now, but it's like $14 when I bought it.
Yeah, that I
And the
think it's
amount
still
of work I've put
$14.
with
Yeah.
it is insane. Yeah, Photoshop and I can't draw in Photoshop. I can draw in Procreate and I can
yeah,
afford to do it too.
Now,
So that's the one I said to use.
when you do your pages, how do you format your pages? Do you do it old school 11 by 17 format even in Procreate, or do you do it to
No,
print size?
I do it to print size because the files will get so big that like at this point when I'm running a really big file, like sometimes it'll my iPad will crash. And it's like, oh great, okay. Let's hope I can open that file again. But so it gets pretty big, so I have to like try to keep it minimal, but I do it like that and then in Photoshop, because I do still have Photoshop, I can then take my like inks and I can enlarge them and stuff, and it keeps the quality of the line as opposed to in Procreate. If you resize something in Procreate, the resolution just bottoms right out instantly.
yeah.
So I try to do everything as close to print size as I can, and then in Photoshop I'll go and like fix everything to fit properly and put it on like format it properly for the page that it's supposed to be on and stuff. But it's kind of all over the place. Like I did a my comic series called Sludgy. All those I started drawing them on 6x8 watercolor paper, and then so when I moved to digital, I was like, oh, I'm just gonna keep going with this 6x8 um, canvas just on Procreate, and I just kept up with that. And then other stuff is like 8.5 by 11 or like 11 by 17. Usually, I only get a couple layers with, so that it just doesn't work very well, but it's got a lot of variety and capabilities. So also my iPad's old, so maybe if I had a newer iPad, it would run smoother, but I
So
won't
when
know about
you
that.
what you mentioned about the quality and stuff like that, so when you're doing I'm new to Procreate. I'm just playing
Hmm.
around with it. So do you do resolution at 300 or do you do it a little bit higher or
I work
how do you
it
do
at 400.
400?
Just
Okay.
because I find it gives it a little more wiggle room. Like 300 is great and all you need, but I want a little bit more just in case I need like better resolution for whatever reason or like a bigger file.
Only
So
only reason I ask that is because you do print. That's why. Where
yeah.
when you're doing digital, it doesn't matter if you do 300 or
Oh yeah, you could do
lower, but for
72 and
print,
it'll look great.
that's
But
it. Yeah.
yeah, no, I do 400 because I know these are not throwaway files. Like it's stuff that will go to print or to the archive, like whatever it is. I want it good quality. So 400 is where I'm at, but 300 will probably get you where you need to be too.
Yeah,
So for your
I
book,
find
yeah.
I was gonna say I find with Procreate too, if your file's too big, it only allows you so many layers anyway.
Yeah, it's true.
Oh, does
And
it?
so
Oh, I
it
didn't know that.
forces you to
Okay.
get creative. Yeah, when you're setting up your preferences, you can see your layers go up and down as you change the size of your thing. So
Yeah,
Oh,
um,
wow. Okay.
there's a lot of options. Like, they have CMYK now, so which is great because before you could only draw in RGB and then your print out colors are wild beyond belief. But it's like they have it's like ready for print and stuff like that.
yeah.
So it's a really good program. And again, it's cheap compared to all the other subscription
Oh,
services we
for
now have to deal with.
$15 one-time fee, you can't
Yeah.
beat that.
No,
Yeah.
and I've definitely sold enough comics that I've made using this thing to justify $15 and then some. So it's fine.
Yeah.
So
No,
mentioning
it's
your
next full, but that's okay.
mentioning your comics, where do you get them printed?
Few different places. There's a place in Scarborough, just outside of Toronto, called, or I think they're in Scarborough. Light. I've printed a lot with them before. They have like you can upload everything to their website, and um, the quality of books has always been really nice. So we did like these sludgy books. These are all like 28 pages or something, like nice glossy paper, thick covers. The colors come out really nice. It's pretty local. Like they ship. I can drive and pick up. This stuff too. I think this was all done by Light. These are like more papery, like pulpier books. So I've done a lot of stuff with them. There was I think it's an American company called Mixum that a lot of people were
Yes,
using.
yes.
That was like the other one that everyone was talking about, but Light was like the local version that totally did everything at a reasonable price. And then with Mixum, I think it was a good price until shipping
Yeah.
prices, until the shipping, and then
I
it was like, oh, it just jumped like $200 or something, and you're like,
Yeah.
oh, well, I'm not going to
that's why
buy
I
this
stopped
anymore.
using. I was using them for quite a few books, then stopped with them because yeah, shipping just went crazy.
Yeah, exactly. And that was, there was a sweet spot there for a bit, but now it's a little harder there. So, and then there's also another local company, um also in Scarborough, I think. They're called Hume Media. And I printed my graphic novel with them. It was like a nice big
Oh, nice.
anyways, these were really nice. I could go pick them up so I didn't have to pay for shipping. I got to work with like a real person who helped me and made sure it was all good, because when I do these other ones on these like kind of print on demandy kind of sites, I'm not talking to a person and I have to hope that like it comes out okay. So this at least I could bounce my ideas off of and talk to them and stuff. This printer was recommended to me by Black Eye Books, which is a comic publisher in Toronto, and they do really quality books and stuff like that. So I just talked to him, and he was like, "Yeah, you should check these guys out." And so just sort of bounce around, and then my last books, because I've been doing this for a while, so there's a lot of crap here. But the last ones I did, these were all just pure Xerox, off a photocopier, and then trim and stapled and stuff. I got these printed at Net Plaza, which is in Toronto. It has just been taken over by a cartoonist, and it's got like the comics libraries in there now. It's at like College in Spadina. It's a really cool print shop and event space, and you got to support local, support community. So yeah, been through many different printers, and then there's also just like the photocopy guy up the street I make my minis with. So whatever.
So one question I have for you is, what do you like reading now? Is there anything that inspires you now that now that particularly now that you mentioned that like Sunday comics were your thing, and now that they sort of don't exist, is there any comics or anything that sort of takes that place?
Um, I read like a lot of different things. I am blessed to live in the same city as the Beguiling, and I have a problem where I spend more money than I have at said shop. So there's always the turnaround of things going through my hands. Right now, I am reading How to Read Nancy. This is a fantastic book. It's just breaking down like a 1 3 panel comic over the course of this many pages. It's like I'm kind of dorky about that kind of stuff. Like I really like the history of comics. I like all that. Just like I read a lot of comics, but I find I read a lot of comic academia kind of like adjacent stuff too.
Yeah.
Um, but I also I read a lot of old school comics, like Popeye's like my favorite. Um, Hate from the 90s, like Peter Bagg, stuff like
Yeah.
that. Robert Crumb, I have tons of like I just stuff is just there's tons of it and it's all over the place. And like it doesn't, anywhere from cute stuff to like Johnny Ryan. Like it's the only thing that doesn't get me too much is like the superhero stuff because even I'm like, okay, maybe I'll try and give it a try. And then I look at those new ones and I'm like, they appeal to me even less than they did when I was a kid because they look even worse now.
Yeah.
Like airbrushing colors and stuff. It's I don't know. So I'm very blessed to know a lot of great cartoonists and like have my finger sort of like on the pulse. So like
Mhm.
there's no shortage of things for me to find and discover whether they're 100-year-old comics or comics that were put out last week. Um, but yeah, comics rule. So I just sort of absorb it like however I can.
I have two
One,
suggestions for you.
Yeah.
First of all, as far as the superhero comics, one of the things I've started to get into is go back, like read like Action Comics #1.
You know what? I was picking up some of those facsimile reproductions of like I think there was like the first Superman, like the Action Comics with Superman for the first time they reproduced the whole thing. And like there is like a lot of stuff like that. Like yeah, I have been looking at some of those and I really that is
but the art was
I like
amazing
old
in
stuff.
those. I mean, the
Yeah.
old stuff, the art was, I mean, forget, the coloring, we modernized the coloring, but the art, line work and everything, it's great.
Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah. The other thing I would recommend if you like sort of comic adjacent is right now I'm halfway through Sapien, the
Okay.
graphic novel, and it's
Yeah.
the history of the world, of
Oh,
existence of the human race
okay.
in a graphic novel format, and
I like that.
it's really kind of cool. So Sapien, it's based on a novel, but they basically turned it into a graphic novel,
Oh,
and
cool.
it's really cool. And it's really sort of they do like old cartoony stuff. So there's like comic strips, and it's really weird. It's really kind of indie looking, but it's this really
Nice.
cool series. And it's right now I'm doing like the birth of the agriculture in human race
Okay.
in comic book form, and they use like a Flintstones like character to tell the story.
Sweet. Yeah, I like
So
that.
it's kind of weird. It's kind of weird that way. So that's the other recommendation. Go back to
Okay, I'll have
comic
to check
books
that out.
and Sapien. Yeah.
Yeah,
But
that's interesting. I will look into that for sure.
now the book you just showed brings back memories because I haven't seen Nancy in not I can't even
Oh,
remember the last time I've seen a Nancy stripped. You
so
know,
Nancy is like pretty big in like the I don't know what the indie comics or alt com I don't know what it's not underground comics because that's very much of time, but the comics that aren't I don't know, small press comics, I guess.
yeah,
Nancy is
yeah.
huge in that world. I have Nancy tattoos on me. Nancy has just been started again. So the Nancy strip has been going this whole time pretty much. And
Oh, yeah.
great cartoonist Caroline Cash is now at the helm of Nancy. I don't know if you know who they are, but their stuff is really, really great. And they're now the one doing Nancy, and it feels very much like a Bushmiller Nancy. Like it's
No, I
great.
remember seeing
It's
that in the newspapers. I mean, Chris and I are older than you, so we remember seeing,
yeah.
we had a whole episode on newspaper strips, and certain things we grew up with. You know, wish kids would see that in paper. I mean, there's no papers anymore, but you
Well,
know,
yeah, and yeah. But no, I have got like stacks of Nancy collections and stuff. Like I love that stuff. Like that's some of my favorite stuff is just and I do my own like 1930s inspired strip also that like I've been running on Instagram, but I sort of just draw them whatever. And it's all inspired by that stuff too. They're four panels. They're two like dopey kind of 1930s looking guys, and it's just like goofy, fun stuff. Sometimes they
well,
continue and sometimes they don't. Like it's just
I was telling Chris when I used to work at a comic stop on Queen Street.
mhm.
We used to have newspaper strips, original newspaper strips, cutouts,
Yeah.
and people come in buying those like crazy. And when you look at the 1930s, 40s original newspaper strip with the coloring, you
Oh
know,
yeah.
it's amazing. Especially like example I think I gave Chris was Prince Valiant.
Oh my
Look,
God.
oh, it's amazing. Looking at the. I mean, it's like looking at original art, honestly.
Yeah, the like the quality of some of the art and some of those old strips, like the Roy Crane stuff is like those adventure strips. There's like I look at that, I'm like, that's again, that's some of those comics you're like, I can't do that. Like there's no entry point for me into this. It's beautiful and I love it, but I can't. And then you even look at like I really like the Mickey Mouse 1930s strips that like I think Fantagraphics has got like a whole bunch of collections of them. They're done by Floyd Gottfredson, and
Godferson,
it's
that's it. Yes.
yeah, and it's maybe the best Mickey Mouse ever. Like it's
Yeah.
fun, it's exciting, it's violent. It's not like a kiddie thing at all. He's cute, but he's in all these like hairy situations, and there's crazy violence and hooded characters running around, and it's just the art is so great. The stories are so fun. And I think also for me, I like the strips because a few panels and then you get your thing out and then you can move on to something else. That sounds more like a dream. Like I made like a graphic novel, but my intention was to draw like a 3-page comic and then it kept going, It was like but if I were to try to plan that, I would have been like there's no way I'm doing this because this is way too much work and it's so intimidating. But like 4 panels, I can do 4 panels. And then when I'm done those 4 panels, I can do another 4 panels. And I think I've got like 120 strips of that now, and it's just because you just keep going. It's easy to keep going when you keep the stakes low. But as soon as I'm like jumping into a project like intense, like I'm going to make this graphic novel, it's like very easy to psych yourself out of something like that.
I would imagine doing sort of shorter pieces too. You can kind of like get your feelings out to some degree. Like, not to get
Yeah,
artsy about this, but like when I'm doing a book, it's like, okay, whatever feeling I had when I wrote it might be over, but I've got to keep drawing that feeling and I might be feeling differently. Whereas if you're just doing like 4 panels, you can be like, I'm really pissed off. And it can be a really aggressive comic. But then the next day you're feeling, I'm really happy. And then it can be a really happy thing. So you can kind of switch it up. It's almost the dream to some degree.
And
totally. And yeah,
what the 4 panel strip, you're limited to how much you could say and how much you could do. It's like, you want to tell everything in that 4 panels.
totally. I like those kinds of boundaries. I think left to my own devices with just endless everything is actually more of a hindrance. You wind up thinking too long and doing less work. Whereas if I kind of know, like, okay, I have these four panels, I kind of know how this works. Um, where's the joke? Like, there's sometimes you write them from the last panel to the first backwards. Sometimes there's just like a drawing that you want. You like, okay, I know which panel that should be in. How do I build stuff around it? So it's like its own puzzle sort of
So
thing.
mentioning that, what's your creative process? How do you create a book? Or let's say, do you write out a detailed plot, or what's
No, so like I said, like my graphic novel series, it started as like I was basically jamming from panel to panel. I spent a lot of time at the Toronto Comic Jam, which basically informed a lot of my writing. Because I don't consider myself a writer. So it's the art that I find sort of moves the story along, and then the words complement it. But if I have an idea, I'll like sketch something out or jot something down. But a lot of times it's just like I want to draw something and then I sort of build around it. Or like I'm doing a
okay?
comic right now for my friend's magazine, Plunder Shock magazine, and he just wanted like a one page of something. And I'm like, okay, so what kind of thing do you want? He's like, well, it's kind of like a fantasy themed issue, so maybe something in that. And then so I'm like, okay, just trying to think of like this isn't in my world at all because I don't draw fantasy comics. Like I look at things like Prince Valiant and I'm like, I can't draw that. Like that's not obtainable. But so I'm trying to just immerse myself and try to just make it my own. But it all just sort of I don't know, trying to keep it simple, trying to do what speaks to me in that moment. Because most of the time, comics are like, no one asked me to make them, no one cares if I made them, and no one's going to read them. So I have to enjoy the whole process myself, or else there's no point to making comics.
And it's interesting because we've talked to so many people, and every person has a different creative process.
Hmm.
I mean, when you're growing up, you read all these books and stuff and say, this is how Marvel does it, this is how DC does it. And you realize afterwards, no, you know what, I do it the way I want it.
Yeah, and I think part of those is like they do it like that because they had like a stable of people they had to control. They
Yes.
had to keep everything like on point, on brand, on model, right? Whereas like if my character doesn't look exactly the same, this if the proportions aren't right from panel to panel, like I don't like it doesn't bother me because it works for the story, it works for the art. A lot of times I find symbols and stuff, boiling things down so that even if it's not the best drawn thing, if your reader can understand what it is, then you've succeeded. Like
Yes.
if you overdraw something, make it look too good, like it doesn't always read, like you gotta. I was watching an interview years ago. I think it was Seth and Peter Bagg, and Seth was talking about how he had all these stamps that he made, and he was just writing comics, like stamping on his sketchbook with these different panels, and then like filling in the story. Like he was using preset panels that he had made and making stories out of them, and like just like how it has to be like the symbol of the thing has to be so much clearer than maybe how well you can draw the thing. Like if your reader can't understand what they're looking at, then you've lost them. So it's just I like to keep things simple. I think colors the same way. Keep it bold, keep it simple. And that's I think why I like cartoon characters as opposed to like highly rendered illustrations is because like they really pop off the page. It really like you can treat it more like a symbol than a perfectly drawn hand. Because like who can draw a perfectly drawn hand? It's gonna take forever. I ain't got time for that.
Well, that's what we were talking about earlier about Sergio Aragones, you know,
Oh,
cartoony style, but then he'll put all that detail in a pirate ship. You know,
so yeah, and sometimes that stuff is hard to understand too. But that man is his own special.
he's
You let Sergio
yeah,
do what Sergio gonna do.
that's it.
Like
Yeah.
yeah,
So it's funny you talked about like sort of the simplicity. It reminds me of when I was first starting in animation, I had this animator who was helping me out with a walk cycle. And I did this walk cycle and I wanted to do a walk cycle with as few drawings as possible,
yeah,
like as simple as possible. And I did it. And I did this drawing and then I showed it to him. I, like shot it and played it for him. And he goes, looks like a guy walking. And so it was like success. Like it doesn't
right.
have to like have everything. It doesn't have beautiful flow. It doesn't have all that because when I look at that, it looks like a guy walking. pass.
exactly. And you
Yeah.
needed to articulate the point as opposed to it be like perfect, like trying to achieve perfect is first of all impossible, and it's like the quickest killer of like creativity because you spend all this time trying to perfect one thing and then you realize I have to draw another panel now, or I have to draw another frame. Like I just spent like a week doing this one, and now I got to do it again. And like you're not gonna do a full thing like that. So yeah, you make it look like the thing without having to kill yourself doing it. And sometimes less is more. In fact, oftentimes less is more. I find that
Yeah.
with
So
writing too. The less I think, the better my stuff comes out because I'm just unfiltered letting it out. If I go back and try to do things, I'm like, I start second guessing myself, tripping over my own words. And it's like, I should have just went with that first idea as pure as it was, and it would have spoke to me better.
And there's a
so
certain amount
mentioning
of
that,
joy.
how long?
Yeah.
Yeah. So how long do you spend on let's say a page or a panel?
It depends. Like, so I'm doing, I said a page right now for like a fantasy page. And while it's still cartoony, I have a feel it's going to take me a ton of hours because like the coloring is pretty intense. I'm drawing things like kind of out of my wheelhouse, but still keeping it my way. So that one's going to be a stupid amount of time, and I'm afraid to look at how much time is going to be spent on that, but that's fine. Like the comic strips, like the Dingus and Dum Dum comic strips that I do, can usually under 4 hours. I'll have like the four panels like written, drawn, everything ready to go, good to
Oh,
go.
nice.
Sludgy pages, like the full pages were 6 to 8 hours, sort of thing per. So when you're looking at 172 pages at like 8 hours a page, you're
Now
never going to get
here's
paid
a
enough.
here's a key question. Do you go back and retouch a lot, or do you just go move on?
Um, I, for the most part, just move on. Like if
Okay.
there's something that's really killing me, and especially because like digitally, but most of my stuff will see print. And then once it's in print, I'm like, what are you going to do now, bud? It's like it's over. You're not going to recall them. You can't afford to fix that once it's already out there. So I just try to do the best job I can. And there's like certain things like not a retouch, but like I want to reprint um like these comics. But I used to have a Patreon mail club, and there's an ad for my Patreon mail club in each one. So that's like an extra page I now have to like switch out with something else and like fill
Yes.
with. So like, but not like so much retouching the work itself. I try not to do that too much because there's always something else to move on to the next one. Like, I don't want to sit obsessing over things because you don't get anything done. It's
Very
just
healthy.
comics. Well, comics making practice is very unhealthy, like naturally, like it just is. So anything you can do to curb that is probably a good thing.
Agreed.
So now your
Yeah.
wife brought up a point saying you're crazy.
Yeah, she tells me that. And she's
All
probably
all co
right.
all comic artists are crazy. That's what I think. That's what she said, right, Chris?
She did. She did for sure say that, and she
Yeah.
said we had
Yeah.
our own brand of crazy. I think is how she sort of, you know.
Yeah, I think she's right. She's known me for a long time, and the fact that she still wants to be around me is remarkable.
I actually feel
But
sorry
yeah,
for you. I feel sorry for you a little bit in that I know that like your t-shirt work, it must be hard because I imagine if you're anything like we've had this problem with our group, you see the mistakes in it, you see the thing, you're like, oh, I wish I could just change that a little bit.
oh,
But then it's
Yeah.
like people wearing it, so you can't even like, you're out in public and you're just like, I don't want to see that. All I see is the mistakes or something like that must
well,
come to you.
thankfully, I don't usually get the privilege of seeing other people wearing our shirts as much as I'd like to. People tell me they're like, "Oh yeah, I saw this guy wearing a shirt," and I'm like, "No one, I never see that." Um, but yeah, there are times. There's like some of our earlier shirts where we printed them and we realized, oh, we could actually print them bigger, or like, and I will clean up and touch up some of those because sometimes we have to reshoot the screens. So if we have to reshoot the
Oh,
screens and go
yes.
through all that process again, okay, yeah, I can go back and fix something that was irking me for that. Comics, not so much, but for that, like when we started doing our t-shirts, I didn't sign my moving parts on all of our shirts. I have so many people walking around with our shirts who like our shirts who have told me that they don't know where to find them because it says our name nowhere on them. It's like,
Oh,
how
wow.
do I do that?
Okay.
As someone, a lifelong artist, and I didn't sign the work. What kind of idiot am I? Like,
Yeah.
so
but
It's
but
common.
We're
seriously,
always learning.
Comic book
no,
artists do
but
it too.
you
It's true.
no, but he no, but he you brought up a good point. Never thought about it on a T-shirt that you'd want to put your name. Like, I
Yeah.
mean,
It's only
yeah,
the company name so that people know where they can
where
find
to buy
more.
it.
Yeah.
Yes.
You know.
Okay, no,
Um,
no, see, learning
so
something new on
it's
what to do if
yeah,
I ever, yeah,
and so like there's those things. Like there's some shirts where we have to reshoot them to make them bigger and put our name on them and stuff, and like just like little things here and there. But art is also like a constant learning like game, like if there's always something new that I'm discovering or a different way of doing things or like, oh, we can actually push this a little bit further or I draw something too detailed because I'm trying to make Rebecca not be able to get the shirt. I'm trying to see how far I can push it and I don't know, you by pushing those boundaries that's where you find things that work. It's
Yeah.
not everything's going to work, but art is all about experimenting and you got to fuck
so
around to
like,
find out.
so mentioning that, we were asking Rebecca for T-shirts now on your end for comics. Uh, where are you going to be in the summertime? Are you doing any shows, anything like that?
Yeah, we have some shows coming up. Summertime because kids are out of school and we try to like be like present like with our kids a lot of the time too. And summertime can be pretty hit and miss with doing markets because a lot of people are on vacation or it's really hot and people don't want to go to a market. They want to go for a weekend or to a beach or just I find the summertime can be tricky for that kind of stuff, but like this is a 24/7 kind of gig. I don't take off my hat and like change my personality or anything. Like we're always like this. So yeah, we just make it work. But we like to get out of the city too. We go camping with our friends and just disappear into nature for a while. And so, because the city, it's great. I love the city, but like you need to take a break too. And the
You do,
summertime
you
is
do.
is great. You just get out and go into the forest and remind yourself of like
And
you
especially if
don't
you have
have
kids,
people everywhere.
it's especially when you have kids and being an independent artist and stuff like that. Your
It's
time's
tricky.
very, it's tricky, time's limited.
Absolutely. But it's fine. I mean, the springtime and the fall time are our like peak times for like when we're hustling our stuff. The rest of the time we're just
Yeah.
making stuff, I guess, and like trying to do the back end stuff. But we've been doing this for a while now, and it's hit and miss. Keeps You never know what you're gonna get, but that's why you got to keep showing up. I kind of think of these shows as like feel like I'm part of carnival, like I'm a carny, and like I'm like standing behind a table trying to sell like people like
Chris,
shouting at
that's
them to
how
try
we
and sell
should
them
promote Geek
t-shirts.
Shop now. We're like a carnival.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm gonna paint
it's
my face like a clown. It'll be great.
Yeah.
hey, you might get some new viewers that way,
Yes.
tap into that
Yes.
clown community.
So, anyone watching this, where can they purchase your books? T-shirts we already mentioned, but your books.
So at the moment, a lot of my books are out of print, unfortunately. But you can buy everything that we do have on the My Moving Parts website. It's mymovingparts.com. All of our t-shirts are there. I'm trying to get my books back into print this year. I'm going to do an honest effort to try to make that happen. So I should have more stuff. I've got mini comics up there right now, but like my graphic novel, I need to reprint those, and my HA magazines, I need to reprint those. So um, right now, you can also sometimes find my stuff in Exclaim Magazine, which is a Canadian National Music and
Yeah.
Arts magazine. They have a free comics page in each issue, and so I'm in every few of those here and there. I've contributed a few of them, so you can find me there. And then I contribute to like other people's stuff sometimes and draw all kinds of things for other people. So my stuff gets around, but in terms of my comic books, right now it's just minis, but 2026, I'm trying to actively change all that. It's been the past year and a half, I've been like sort of distancing from comics a little bit just because of how much work it is and how hard it can be and how demoralizing it can be if you find zero success in it, sort of thing. So you have to sort of
Yes.
go where the joy is, and it wasn't
We've
there,
been
but
there. Trust me, we've
yeah,
been
I'm
there.
sure you have. But
Yeah.
I'm feeling like I want to get back into it more earnestly because
Sometimes
I really do love it.
mental mentally it helps. I mean, even though you love comics mentally, if I'm telling you through personal experience, walking away for a year or so,
Yeah,
you clear your mind. Trust me, you clear your mind and
it's
come
true.
back and you enjoy it more.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of where I'm at right now. So I'm finding myself drawing more comics, which is really great, but I have to do all the unfun stuff, which is printing and manufacturing them
Yes.
all. Like I don't, but I also don't have anywhere to put them in my small Toronto home. I finally sold out of all these
Yes,
boxes that were lining my
that's
walls, and
it.
now I'm thinking about buying more, like a crazy person, because that's right.
Yes.
Like I spent years drawing these things, didn't get paid. Then I spent my own money to print them, and now I'm drowning in extra books that no one wants to buy. Like
Yes.
every step of this process is ridiculous. So yeah,
Yeah.
when she says we're crazy, I'm crazy. She's right.
Yes.
Absolutely.
You just certified yourself.
I
So
honestly wouldn't have it any other way, so it's fine.
we should probably wrap this up because we've taken a bunch of your time.
Yeah.
Um,
So Chris, do you want to ask him that question?
I guess so. Well, first of all, we'll make sure we're going to put links to your social media below, so everybody will have that, so you don't have to. We'll make sure we get a few more viewers, but
Groovy.
also
Thank
because
you.
particularly checking out your strips, which you're posting, which you're posting in your Instagram feed is definitely worth checking out. I would highly recommend that for anybody. But as far as we have one final question that we ask everybody, and who would win in a fight, Hulk or Superman?
Hulk or Superman? I mean, like, I feel like it'd probably be Superman. Isn't he like the superest man? You know, he could like fly around. Like Hulk's not gonna be able to catch him. And Hulk is very strong, but Hulk has also got like fried eggs for brains, you know? Like I know he's like a very smart scientist, but the Hulk himself seems like just a bull in a china shop, and I feel like Superman can tame a bull in a china shop. But also, one good punch. I did watch Doomsday destroy Superman, so honestly, it could go either way. I don't know. Doomsday kind of looked like Hulk. He had all this rock sticking out of his arms, but he was of the same stature and stuff, and he beat him. So maybe it's Hulk.
So it's a maybe. So it's a maybe.
Maybe
Honestly, I'd love
Superman.
to see it because it could go either way.
Yeah.
Okay, that's a good way to end the episode.
Yeah,
Thank you for joining us.
thanks for having me.